Hi guys, this is Andrea and this is Tiny Talks with myself and Erin Kinghorn. And we are on today to talk to you about artist playlists. So, hey Erin,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm awake, so we're good. Do you like my school marm look?
I do. I do.
I look like I should be working in a library.
Okay, what are we talking about today?
I believe we wanted to talk about artist playlisting today.
I think we are talking about artist playlisting today. We get on and we talk about topics that might be of interest to artists and their teams about music marketing and how to market music because heaven knows it's a dangerous territory to be in these days and a really oversaturated territory to be in these days. So we've seen lots of success in artists creating their own playlists and putting them up on the platforms. And that success we think has to do with salting the algorithms. Would you agree with that?
Oh, totally. And I think it also allows artists additional content to be putting themselves out to other communities just outside of their own music. And they can start conversations that way as well.
Yeah, exactly. So if you think your track sounds like Beastie Boys or Billie Eilish, or if you think it's similar to in sound style, or you think there's a connection there in any way, just by having your track next to tracks by artists that you resonate with, maybe they're neighboring neighborhood artists, artists in your same neighborhood that you tour with, or artists that you just think you sound like, as I said, then you can salt the algorithms to make those connections. I think we even said this last week that if Fleetwood Mac Dreams is played billions of times over and over again, what is played before and after that track, right? Something has to be played. So why not have it be your track? And why not somehow let the algorithms know that that's a fit, especially if your track is played after another more popular artist track or a more established artist track, and the fans like your track, heart it, add it to their own playlist, share it, listen to it over and over again. That's really this kind of authentic, organic reach that we're always trying to talk about. It's not that we are manufacturing streams or trying to for artists.
I think it's interesting because there's a lot of conversation about pay to play when it comes to playlisting and playlist servicing. I get hit with their ads all the time through social media channels, and it's definitely an interesting space because people are promising you hundreds of thousands of streams for a couple $100, but they're not real. And you can see that when it starts really hurting your analytics. All of a sudden, your top countries are in Turkey or in places in Asia that you really haven't released your music even in, or you'll have spikes that just don't make sense. And that doesn't allow for you to have proper data, and it doesn't allow for the Spotify's and other curators to actually really think that you're a legitimate artist. And I think one of the things that we've been hearing about is that Spotify's cracking down on these conversations and they're blacklisting artists who are using pay to play situations because they don't want to see these inflated numbers when they've become so important when it comes to marketing and seeing the success for artists. So they're really trying to clean up what's true releasing versus what's paid for.
Yeah, and what we do is not the pay for play stuff. This is a way to get authentic engagement. This is one of the ways on the platforms that you can use the system to get authentic engagement. So, a couple things about the artist playlists. You don't want them to be static, you want them to live. So, all that means is changing out tracks on these playlists. Once a month would be fine. You can do it more often, but maybe once a month. You only need to change out one track. You don't have to change out the entire playlist, but you want to name it something so you don't want to name it April 2022 because then what are you going to be doing in July kind of thing. So you just want to name it something that's fairly generalized. It can be what
Yeah.
inspires me or what I'm listening to now. There are lots of creative things to do. You can look at what other artists have done. For example, Spotify, which we always seem to refer to because it's the most transparent and the easiest to talk about for artist tools. If you scroll down on your Spotify profile or scroll down on another artist's Spotify profile, there's an artist playlist section. These playlists are created on your personal user profile. They're not created on your artist profile, but from your personal user profile, then you go ahead and post it to your profile. We always recommend that you have a personal user profile that has your name in it, your artist name in it, so that it looks like you created the playlist. SEO is very important. So the description is really important on these playlists. Naming, shouting out to other artists who are popular, who you might include on your playlist, shouting out to genres, including genres, or any other kind of search engine optimization. Using your hashtags like singer-songwriter, hard rock, whatever it is, can be really important for these playlists.
We have artists who are fans of music and they're really good at putting together playlists once they get into that rhythm, right? And that develops followers for themselves and people who are wanting to hear what are the tracks that they're listening to. I always love a playlist of inspirations for the current record, or where people are getting ideas for what they're recording or what they're listening to in the studio. All of those things I find that demonstrate a little bit of your personality in, I think is really important. Also, creating your own artist library playlist is a good one too. You're not in a position where you have an artist radio channel yet, or you're not, or the all about channels. You can create your own and you can actually curate that in the way that you want it to be, have it be heard and be able to share that with fans. And it's always great to be sharing these playlists, especially with Instagram stories, because there's the direct link now that you can search. And then you can also just making sure that you're sharing your playlist as much as possible too, across all channels.
Yeah, a lot of the digital advertisers will tell you that they prefer that you link to a playlist rather than the individual tracks, because that can further bring engagement to you beyond just your track. Again, if we're salting the algorithms by telling the algorithms what tracks are similar in sound style to yours and fit, then those additional plays can be really helpful. So we're just really trying to gain some traction with these artist playlists. Let me see what else. Length, it can be over, I wouldn't say over 100 tracks. I'd say 15 tracks. It can be really good, about an hour's worth of listening kind of thing. No hard set rule. You need your own track in the first or second position. That makes sense. But don't just fill it with your tracks, because then I think I've heard that the algorithms then think it's more advertising than something organic. Yeah. So you want to have just a couple of your own tracks and not all together.
Well, everybody wants to be getting on Spotify playlists, but I think optimization with their profiles in general, creating your own playlist along with, making sure you're using Songkick and you're using all these other tools that they're putting in there is really valuable as well, because you need to be showing that you're using the tools to get supported for sure.
Absolutely agree with that. It makes a difference organically. I think I can say I've seen it over and over again. And we're always like, take advantage of them and we have to see what happens. But it is in a lot of the cases. Okay, well, that's it for Tiny Talks today. We'll be back next week with another Tiny Talks.